information that I missed. But then my homework was never quite like this. Oh, got it bad, got it bad, got it bad. I'm not the teacher.
Alright, Professor here. I'm going to do things a little bit different this time. I recorded beforehand and then I'm going to narrate over afterward. Here's the Obama clone. I'm going to try and use him throughout this video a little bit more. I find his eyes horrifying, but it seems that he's some sort of mage rather than a warrior like the other ones were. And I feel like that's better balanced because honestly mages at this level aren't that great. And there's a little Spider-Man here. Look at that Spider-Man. Spider-Man. Die, Spider-Man. Okay. I wanted to talk a little bit more about the actual, like, information and history of the Elder Scrolls game in this video. I did. Ooh, what was that? Oh yeah, there's a broken war axe handle, broken war axe head. I'm not really sure what these are about. I presume that you can probably put them back together. But that's a pretty cool, like, decoration item, so I think that's pretty great. Anyway, I wanted to talk more about how the Elder Scrolls games have really changed, and on top of that, why I think that that's not a good thing. So what I'm going to do is give you a little history lesson on the Elder Scrolls game, while occasionally commenting on some of the mods I found in Bleak Falls Barrow. I actually didn't find very many. Wow, Obama, that was crazy. Thanks, Obama. Anyway, the first Elder Scrolls game that came out was still by Bethesda, was Elder Scrolls Arena. I thought Arena was fan-fucking-tastic. It used a really interesting system, I believe it was on DOS, where you would slide and hold the mouse, so you would like left-click and slide it in order to attack at people, which made me feel like I was really, really into it, whereas now it's just buttons and stuff like that. That wasn't like, I don't think that was something ingenious to them at the time, but it was a really cool system. It had a pretty good storyline. Same as always, you were a prisoner. The dungeons were fucking dangerous. Enemies were randomized, all that stuff, so it was always a different game. Not as different as if you played Elder Scrolls 2, Daggerfall, in which everything was randomized. That game was fucking amazing. That really, really upped the ante in role-playing games. I don't know if any of you guys have played that. That one's pretty rare for people to have played. If you notice, I immediately go to my potions in this. That's because poison in this game is, for whatever reason, for whatever mod, is super fucking dangerous. I died 3 times fighting this giant Spider-Man because of it. Anyway. Daggerfall had almost everything randomized. The maps were gigantic, like as big as a Minecraft map. Alright, not that big, but still, like that pretty fucking big. It would take you days. I think it takes months to get across it if you were to just walk. And then there were a few offshoot games, which I'm probably going to mention in the background. Notably, after Daggerfall came out, Battlespire, which was Elder Scrolls Legends, I think, Battlespire, and then Elder Scrolls Adventures, Redguard. Redguard hopped on the bandwagon of all of the famous games that were coming out right then, which was like Tomb Raider and Prince of Persia. So it came out as more of a platform in this more open world, which you were used to. You could swap between third and first person. So it was more intuitive than this one, or than Tomb Raider and those. A little bit more immersive too. But in any case, it wasn't the same as Daggerfall or Arena. Morrowind then came out, which was the first one to be to have like some really notable animations. Redguard, Battlespire, and Daggerfall all had some 3D rendering. Arena came out in kind of that Doom era where it was like semi 3D. But in any case, Morrowind had some very high, at the time, very high poly count textures. Had amazing quest systems. Had some pretty solid what are those called? Disposition systems. And it had 2 expansions, Tribunal and Blood Moon. Tribunal let you go to a Cyrodiil, I believe, which was a major expansion to the game, and Blood Moon added in werewolves. Thanks, Obama. Added in werewolves and let you go to Solzenheim, I think, and that's where you can go in the now Dragonborn expansion that just came out for Skyrim, which I will say is actually the first expansion to Skyrim that I will call an expansion, because they actually added some fucking territory. Now, Obama says damn it right there, and he sounds like that was actually Obama saying it, which means that someone put way too much time into that creepy ass mod, and I love it. After Morrowind, there were 3 on-the-go games, 2 for a phone and 1 for the N-Gage. I believe they were called Stronghold, Dawnstar, and Shadowkey. I think that's what they were called. Shadowkey was for the N-Gage. Unfortunately, the N-Gage tanked, like, immediately. But I think you can still find it for your smartphone somewhere. Anyway, they weren't that great. Nothing special, but they were something to feed us, the fans, because the last time we had seen anything was Blood Moon, which was 2003, and we had to wait 3 years for Oblivion to come out. Oblivion came out in 2006. 2006, Oblivion came out. Right after it, or at the same time, another Elder Scrolls mobile game came out that was also Oblivion. Not the same game at all. With Oblivion, it followed the suit of Morrowind and released 2 expansion packs, Knights of the Nine and the Shivering Isles. Both of those, Shivering Isles especially, added in a considerable amount of content for you to do. What I really liked about Oblivion is they fixed the D20 system that Morrowind was based on. So every time you swung, you hit. In Morrowind, you could spend a solid 20 minutes just swinging at each other, because you could just constantly be rolling ones. And then 2011 was Skyrim, and Skyrim got Game of the Year almost across the board, right off the bat. In 2012, they have released Dawnguard, Hearthfire, and Dragonborn. All of those had already been released. And what's being announced is The Elder Scrolls Online is supposed to come out in 2013. Now, I tried to get in the beta. They rejected me, probably because I went on like a solid 12-page rant about what they did and fucked up the Elder Scrolls series. So maybe they just didn't want me in there because I insulted them, or they're just looking for people who had more beta experience. I don't have all that much beta experience. But if you do have beta experience, go check out the Elder Scrolls Online beta. I'll leave a link down below. Check it out, see if you can get in. If you do, tell me how it is, because I'm going to guess it's awful. So let's talk about the games, and why I think that it has been a downhill progression. I mean, Arena was amazing, so was Daggerfall. Morrowind was unlike anything at its time, but it did make a few screw-ups from Daggerfall and Arena. In Daggerfall and Arena, the Khajiit had just been humans who praised cats and would try and make themselves look more cat-like. In Morrowind, that turned into them being literal cat people. Also, on top of that, Daggerfall had randomized dungeons and a world map. I would have liked to see randomized dungeons in Morrowind. However, the dungeon design in Morrowind was pretty spectacular, because there were actual puzzles a lot of the time that didn't repeat themselves. In any case, Morrowind was really good at the time. It ruined RPGs for me for years, because I would try to play so many other ones, and I would just think, man, this is nothing compared to Morrowind. Thanks, Obama. And then Oblivion came out. Oblivion fixed the D20 system, so I'll give them credit for that. But it simplified the games way too much. It cut out over almost half of the Morrowind spells and half of the Morrowind weapon types. When you add in Skyrim, you'll see an even greater decline. Skyrim cut out all of the weapon types. There's just 2 now, one-handed and two-handed. In Morrowind, there was thrown weapons, daggers, or it's short blade, long blade, axe, blunt, spear, long sword, something else. Anyway, there's a lot, and then there's unlimited spells you can make. Actually, both in Morrowind and Oblivion, because you can create spells. Skyrim cuts out spell creation. It cuts out all but 2 types of weapons. It cuts out a significant number of the skills, and would have been interesting to see more skill trees because of it. It cuts out a considerable amount of the difficulty. And on top of that, it cuts out a considerable amount of the storyline. The storyline in Skyrim, I believe, to be pretty shitty compared to Morrowind or Oblivion. In Morrowind and Oblivion, you really felt like you were saving the world. In this game, not so much. Skyrim also disposed of the disposition systems, which made speechcraft in this game only useful to get money, which is stupid because you are fucking drowning in money in this game. It's no big deal, and it really, really cuts down in the game, I think. What bugs me most is that Bethesda just seems unapologetic about this. They don't really care about the diehard fans from Morrowind in that era, because when it comes down to it, I just realized that I'm supposed to get dragon souls from these, and I don't, because they shouldn't be spawning yet, because you don't run into dragons until you beat that first one at the tower. Anyway, I'm gonna eat that dragon heart. Anyway, they're unapologetic because when it comes down to it, Skyrim sold more copies. It was more appealing to the gamer crowd. It was less appealing to the hardcore gamer crowd, like the people who would go out and actually play role-playing games and board games. It was basically targeted at the people who sit on their couch and play Halo all day and are just looking for lots of action scenes and not looking for much storyline and not looking for much choice, not many choices to be made. Anyway, hopefully I'll find some more weird mod stuff in the upcoming video, because I'm going to head to Whiterun and I'm going to try and get rid of these cliff racers. Thanks for watching.